Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Logan and welcome to another video here on the Challenger Gaming Network official YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking Call of Duty, and as a matter of fact, there's a particular reason why I specifically am going to be talking about this game and what's going on with it, and we'll get into that in a second. One thing I do want to point out on why you're seeing what you're seeing on your screen here is because I want to give you kind of a baseline of what we're going to be talking about and kind of give you some stuff from my particular account moving into the gameplays that you're going to be seeing. That combat record little clip that you see shows the two games that you're about to see back to back and my actual combat record and statistics and all of that. And this isn't designed to attempt to kind of flex or anything like that. It's purely designed to show you kind of what we're dealing with, what we're working with here. Now, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has been kind of tumultuous. As a matter of fact, it's been one of the most tumultuous starts to a Call of Duty I personally have ever seen. And let's actually talk about that for a second. The reason I am talking about this is because I have, in CGN, arguably the most experience and time played on Call of Duty. Since a very young age, I have been playing this game. And since a very young age, I have been competing in this game. At around 2013, roughly, is when I really sank my teeth into competing in this game. And I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this, but it is worth knowing in the background that at one point I was on a top 50 team in the world on game battles. I have competed in tournaments. I have competed on online qualifiers, online lands, or not, sorry, not online lands, but online brackets. And all the old GB stuff that you know. Same with UMGs. This is all just the competitive format. For those who are not aware of this whole scenario, it's just back in the day we used to have it as a certain website that we used to play these on, and then you would go and compete on LAN, which is in person at events. Call of Duty's always been my favorite game, and I really put that passion into the competition side of it. Like I said, I was pretty high ranked in the, at one point with my team, and I mean I even have my jersey hanging in the studio that that I'm recording this in. But I have always adored this game. I even for its faults, I love it. And honestly, that's why I feel so, let's say, emblazoned to make this video. If I'm being completely honest with you, this is arguably the most disappointed I've ever been in a Call of Duty. I have been through the highs and the lows. I have played through Black Ops 2 and, the peaks of what people consider Call of Duty. Well, this was intended, at least by what the developers said, to be some level of a return to form. Or at least that's what they claimed. And yet, we go on, let's say, Twitter, and we see the official Call of Duty updates page where they post all the good stuff about, game issues, fixes, patch notes, all that good stuff. And if you scroll through it, you see they're putting out a patch to 2 patches even every 1 to 2 days. I've never seen anything like that before, if I'm being completely honest. And there's a multitude of reasons why, and yes, I fully understand Call of Duty has shifted and the culture has changed throughout its time. I'm never going to argue that, and the game needs growth. You can only stagnate it so much. But, on that same token, there can still be a balance of adhering to the things that made it great. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed. I believe that is the root. Because at its core, this particular game, Black Ops 6, I would argue has some of the best bones and best groundwork laid for a Call of Duty potentially ever. This could be the best Call of Duty they've ever put out. And will it? In my opinion, no, it won't be. And this is purely because of 2 things, Treyarch and Activision. And I blame Activision more than Treyarch, but we'll get into why I have, for the first time playing Call of Duty, fingers to point aggressively at Treyarch. But let's get into it. I'm going to break down a few things here, and I've got some clips that I want to play and some screenshots I want to show you. And my issues with this game come from six topics of discussion. skill-based matchmaking has to be the #1 thing that we talk about. We're going to talk about skill-based damage. Now, I'm not saying that it's in this game. I'm not actually saying one thing or another. I'm not making one claim or another. But what I am going to talk about is the claims and the evidence on each side. Furthermore, hackers. We have to talk about hackers. I mean, we just do. We have to talk about the servers themselves and the tick rate that they come with. And then bullet magnetism, which you may or may not have heard of. We're actually going to talk about that. That is going to be a very spicy topic. And then lastly, packet burst. You know, I'm going to mix all of these in. We're not going to go in order because I feel like they all are one package. I just kind of broke them down into 6 little bite-sized nuggets. How about that? So the big elephant in the room is always going to be skill-based matchmaking. That is actually the reason why I did that little combat record snippet at the start, and why I did 2 succinct games back-to-back that you're going to see in the background playing here, both on Nuketown 24/7, and you're going to see the actual active effects of skill-based matchmaking. For this particular scenario and what you're seeing now, I am using just a 3-shot burst. I believe it's the SWAT 5.56 tactical rifle or whatever they're calling it, battle rifle perhaps. I've been doing the camo grind. You know, I've been trying to get diamonds on the diamond on the guns and all that kind of stuff. So I recently switched as of this morning, and you can see the time in the top left. It was my first game on, and I wanted to try. I just finished the SMGs. I wanted to do this now. I wanted to try the battle rifles or tactical rifles. And so this is my first real match playing with this particular gun. You can see it's got nothing on it. Now, that being said, this was my first game of the day, and all things considered, I played pretty darn well. Little spoiler alert, I go somewhere in the ballpark of like 55 and 25, something like that. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And what I've noticed, and what you'll see, is the game that immediately follows, I get absolutely just smacked. I just do. And that's been the big thing with this game. And one of the reasons why a game from Ubisoft called X-Defiant was supposed to be the savior of the genre, because they made it very clear that there was no skill-based matchmaking in its normal public matches. Now, in the you know, the ranked version of it, of course they would have skill-based matchmaking, as you very well should. And their whole claim to fame was there's none of that in here. Now, Call of Duty, Treyarch, Activision, etc., Infinity Ward, none of them claim that whatsoever. And I understand why. They've run their tests in the background and say, hey, skill-based matchmaking grants player retention, especially at the high level. High-level players don't leave. And you know what? I'm not calling myself necessarily a high-level player, but I'm competent enough to keep playing for all my L's. And I enjoy continuing to play the game, at least for the most part. Now, I don't think that that's the same for lower skill players. I think it actually runs off a lot of lower skill players. You know, my wife, and I'm not calling my wife a low skill player by any stretch, but she has started to play this game. And she has started to learn Call of Duty and all this kind of stuff. She's never played it before, but got interested in once she watched me play, so on and so forth. And she's been learning the game. And in those first games where she gets on and she's starting to learn, she's doing really well, she gets bumped up into a higher skill bracket, as expected, based on the skill-based matchmaking. And she stops having fun because it starts putting her with people who have been playing for the last 3 hours. She's playing against dark matter players, all this kind of stuff. It's not fun. She just wants to kick her feet up and try, you know, like an arcadey FPS. Call of Duty is not that anymore. As a matter of fact, she tried X-Defiant and ended up really liking the public match structure of that. And that's really the reality of it. The skill-based matchmaking in this game is tuned so aggressively, I would argue more aggressively than previous iterations, that I think that they're going to ultimately have problems with people leaving. I think player retention is going to be a big issue. And I think a lot of that has been proven true to some degree based off of active player counts. And I mean, this game set records in Call of Duty history on its release. And for rightfully so. They spent the last 4 years or so, they say, developing this game, and all of the stuff that they did in pre-release, or at least the majority of it, was very exciting for old heads like myself who went, man, this is everything that we've been asking for. We just wanted to tune down on the skill-based matchmaking. And I'll be honest, during the beta, I wasn't having any fun because it was tuned so aggressively. And I think they brought it down a little bit, but it's still, in my opinion, far too aggressive. And this is where people kind of lean the conversation into skill-based damage. Now, they don't claim that they're skill-based. They claim that there is no skill-based damage, and I don't necessarily think that there is. If I'm being completely honest, in a moment of rage, I might say that, but the more I've thought about it, the more I've broken it down, and the more I've researched, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that skill-based damage is here. I think it stems... I think the problem in the quality stems from other things, like just general server errors, server issues, the packet burst, especially if you're playing on PC. There's a lot of desync in this game, and and for those unaware, it's what I mean when I say desync. I mean a desync, a separation in between the client side and the actual server side. So on my computer, I shoot. It takes time for those bullets to hit the server, and it acknowledge that those bullets were transferred. Now, there is some validity to the fact that, well, these servers have had issues. They have had issues, and for those of you that play on PC, you will know that the packet burst issue is very bad. And that, again, to explain that a little bit, packet burst, very simply put, is when the packets of data being transferred kind of just logjam, and you get stutters. I find that especially early on, jumping on, first game or two, it's really bad. And then it kind of stays bad, but it kind of has, it ebbs and flows. I'll find when their servers are really high traffic, I end up getting in gunfights, and my game will just freeze for a moment. I'll get the little packet burst symbol pop up. I have yet to find a fix for it. It is something that is all over Reddit, Twitter, you name it, because people are fed up with it, especially on PC. I know personally a lot of people that have went and bought things like PlayStation 5s and Xboxes just to play on console because it's supposed to be more stable there. It's sad, it's pathetic, and it's something they need to work on. But anyways, it is part of it, and it does get old after a while, and I think that is something that really adds up to the whole people thinking that skill-based damage is a thing because there is an active desync. Well, the final piece of that puzzle is the bullet magnetism. And I want to make something very clear here. I am not desiring nor intending nor anything else. I'm not just trying to sit here and play CYA, but I'm not trying to make a point on this whole bullet magnetism thing, as far as skill-based or anything like that. Now, I'm going to get very controversial for a second. I just want you to bear with me. And this is where I would love some community input here and for people to reach out, because this really warrants a conversation. No, I don't believe that skill-based damage is a thing. However, based on my research, I think they have tried to bury the bullet magnetism body of sorts. I think they're trying to bury it deep. There is a clip that I'm about to show you. It's about 45 seconds long, and this is from a developer update. To be completely honest with you, I don't even know when. I have had this saved for quite some time because I knew in this conversation it would have to come up, right? Well, here's the issue. I myself, and somebody, please correct me or give me input, I have not been able to find the original video. As far as I'm aware, Treyarch or Activision have gone out of their way to attempt to scrub this from the internet. And again, I could be wrong, but I can't find it. I've had this clip saved for quite some time, and it breaks down how they view bullet velocity and bullet structure based on local, client side and server side. Just go ahead and watch it, and you can decide for yourself.
Each weapon has a few different settings that makes the handling a bit different. One of the biggest parts is the aim assist. So you can see the reticle turns red when I'm close or almost on him. That means that the aim assist is fully engaged and your shots are going to go toward that target. Now, if we turn on the debug stuff here, you'll see a ton of different circles here. This little cross here that you see is actually where the bullets will bend towards, where your aim is actually corrected to. And as I go over him, you'll see it actually snaps to him. It kind of gets back to the center of my actual reticle.
So you can see that this came from an actual developer update. And it's a little ludicrous, if I'm being honest with you. And for those of you that know ball, that have been around the scene from Call of Duty to Halo for quite some time, Halo had this same controversy back in the day about bullet magnetism. And, you know, the whole purpose was to, you know, kind of attribute lower skill players to, you know, a more fun experience so they can have the same opportunities and stuff like that. And listen, at a fundamental standpoint, you don't want to run lower skill players off. Of course, Call of Duty has grown so exponentially over the years that people are just inherently getting better. It's just part of it. And I think it's really well defined by the video that you're watching here, because this was my immediate follow-up. And you can see there's about an hour and a half difference, but I never closed the game. I had to, you know, do something for my wife, and I came back. But the game was still open, so this was my second game of the day. And, you know, skill-based matchmaking just ended up clapping me. I mean, you can see the kind of people that I'm playing against. A bunch of dark matter, stuff like that. People who think this is a CDL match. Well, you take the bullet magnetism thing that we've talked about. We take the packet burst. We take the general server issues. And then you combine this with the fact that skill-based matchmaking is tuned so heavily. I think this is where this whole skill-based damage aspect really comes into play, because there's a multitude of things at play to adjust the actual player experience. And frankly, this game just isn't well optimized on PC. It just, I'm sorry, it just isn't. You know, I'm playing this game. What you're seeing, the gameplay here, you can see in the top left, I'm averaging, you know, in the 130, 160 range. I'm running on a 160 hertz monitor. And I'm pretty much playing at all low settings. On the previous game, I would get 190 plus, 200 plus, to be honest. This game is just poorly optimized. Well, you mix in poor servers, packet loss, desync, and then highly tuned skill-based matchmaking. There's a lot that goes against the player here, especially at a higher level. And that's my big beef with the game, to be completely honest with you. And then the last little bit of controversy here is the server tick rate. Now, I can spend some time on this whole ball of skill-based whatever and desync, but to me, this is the one that I put the tinfoil hat on for. And again, I'm not going to make any claims one thing or another, but I am just going to give you the facts. I'm going to throw up a screenshot here in a moment. But they have claimed, and people have proven and tested, that for like for regular core servers, core game modes rather, they are running at a 62 hertz tick rate. The servers are. Now, it has to be said, and I'm sorry, it absolutely has to be said, this is how it was in the beta, and they have numerous times run 62 hertz tick rate servers during the beta and then tune them down. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. There's been so much proof of this, and this is where this screenshot really comes into play, because this is a gentleman named Fuse, and he has gone and done this numerous times, testing these games when they come out, these Call of Duties, to see where their servers are at, basically. And he proved that during the beta, it was 62 hertz. Well, then he captured the client side, and it was all over the place. And he readily admitted that it varied. And my point being with all of this is there is a very heavy variance between players' rigs, like PC rigs, being on Xbox, being on PlayStation, their internet itself, their ping, all this kind of stuff comes into play. But the servers themselves have been very, very inconsistent. And to me, that's the last twist of the dagger here for why people feel so uncomfortable playing this game. I think that there's a lot working against it. And then, where does that lead us to? Well, rank play just dropped. And what got even worse? The hacker problem. So we have one bundle of genuine issues with the game or inconsistencies with the game, and then just general distaste of, skill-based matchmaking. And then what is the final nail in the coffin? It's hackers. It's always hackers, and to be fair, it's been hackers for quite some time. But let's call this what it is. It's worse. It is worse. And for those of you that have not touched ranked play so far, it's bad. It's unplayably bad. As a matter of fact, I have never personally witnessed this level of hacking problem. And Modern Warfare 3, the game that came out just before this one, it had issues with that as well. I'm not gonna twist anybody's arm and try to claim that it doesn't. It absolutely did. But I can say unequivocally this is worse. And I'm stunned by that, actually. Because I thought, especially when ranked play came out, and mind you, there was a hacker problem prior to it, just in pubs, but it wasn't as bad as what we're seeing in ranked play. But what I've noticed is ever since ranked play came out, the hacker issue is multiplying. Frankly, people have learned that this ricochet anti-cheat that Call of Duty, that Treyarch, that Activision have implemented into the game is utterly useless. And I mean that wholeheartedly, and I'm not pulling punches on it. It's trash. It's a shame that a multi-billion-dollar studio cannot handle a basic anti-cheat. I think that's, frankly, I think it's friggin' ludicrous. But what I'm most stunned about is that it's so useless that it's actually made the hacking issue worse in pubs than what it was before. People weren't trying to hack too much in pubs. Well, these public matches are now infested with them. If I play for a couple of hours and let's say I'm doing well and I hop back into Nuketown 24/7, I get swarmed with hackers. I mean, and even in just regular other public matches, TDM, everything. I notice after about 2 hours, the game, I have to stop playing because all I run into is hackers. It's pathetic. I've never seen that so brazenly in public matches. And this is the thing that I can't understand. Of all the problems for this game to have, running into public match hackers that's so prevalent that it reminds me of going back and playing old Call of Duties where they don't monitor the servers or monitor anything, so you have a hacker problem. That's what a lot of these games have been feeling like. Spin bots, wall hacks. It's just all there, and it's aggressive. It's wildly aggressive. I've never seen anything like that. I've seen some rough launches in COD. This is, in my opinion, this is the worst. And the funny thing is, I love this game. And I want to keep playing it. I want to keep loving it. But it's atrocious. And I don't truly know what to do. I don't know what the answer is. And honestly, I don't think Treyarch does either. I don't think Activision does either. As a matter of fact, they put out this update. I'm going to read this off. This came out 2 days ago. This is a Ricochet update. Ranked play launched this week, and we're on it. While there's lots of work behind the scenes, here's some of the highlights. We've identified and fixed a data outage that lowered the efficacy of AI systems, adjusting existing thresholds for ranked play, aggressive targeting of suspicious accounts, accelerating replay investigations to review suspicious players. We appreciate your patience as we battle against these attacks that disrupt a fair and fun experience. And I read that and I go, wow, okay, well, at least they're acknowledging it. Good on them for at least acknowledging it. But that's really all that they're doing. They have done this before and nothing's changed, and I'm hoping for the best. But right now, it's rough. It's really rough. And this game is truly sink or swim. There's a lot of problems with this game. I think that this game could be one of the best Call of Duties we've had. I think the only thing standing in its way is Activision's corporate greed and Treyarch's passionless development. If they can turn that ship around, they will have a winner on their hands. And I hope they don't get complacent, because they sold very, very well off the start. Will they continue to? Honestly, that's on them. That's on them. But I appreciate you listening. I'm going to do more videos and break this down. But for now, again, my name is Logan. We hope you enjoy your time at Challenger Gaming Network. Go check us out at cgnofficial.com. I will see you guys in the next one.